So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. BRUNO.
Welcome to another episode of WMTR, Nothing But the Truth, with your host, Bob Bianchi and Dave BRUNO. As you know, Dave, this show is talking about the truth of really uber successful people, both in the professional world, the personal world. We've had some great guests on. We promised you some awesome ones in 2022. We couldn't start a better season than with JF Foxx, the man, serial entrepreneur, good friend of the Bianchi Law Group, and Dave and myself. Dave, we're so excited to have JT on the show. Give us a little bit of the background of JT, although it is so hard to put JT in just a matter of a few words, David.
It is. And JT's one of our coaches, and he's actually one of the inspirations of this show. So JT, we wouldn't be here without you, buddy. My pleasure. JF Foxx is a private equity fund manager, a serial entrepreneur of many companies across all sectors, an investor in companies and property, and the world's #1 wealth and business coach. He has business interests in over 54 countries and is a former media personality, having his own self-syndicated radio show called The JF Foxx Show in the United States and Canada, which now has moved to his highly popular MillionaireFlix platform. He has appeared on major news media networks across the globe, in addition to the features in Forbes and various print magazine covers, as well as multiple radio shows. JT, let's start there. Who is your biggest inspiration to success?
Hey, listen, we all need heroes, models, and coaches. And just like I'm the best at what I do, you guys are also the best at what you do. I know, because I'm a client of your law firm. And, we live in a very unfair, unjust world. And if you're going to succeed, you need the best. You can learn basketball from a high school basketball coach, or you can learn from Phil Jackson. So it's a big difference, right? And who would you rather learn from, Phil Jackson or the local? They're both teaching you basketball, except one won a lot of championships, is regarded as one of the greatest of all time. The other is just probably a great guy. And so same thing with all lawyers, right? You have a lot of lawyers, but I like dealing with the best, and you guys are the best, which ultimately we kind of have a reciprocal relationship. You pay me to coach you, and I pay you to help me out with my issues, which made a very big difference. And I think the realization is that everyone is penny wise and dollar foolish, right? They'll go to an attorney so they can save a couple $100s an hour, right? But then it costs them millions of dollars or their life in this situation. And in my case too, I just always seek out the best that are more successful than me. I've had 9 coaches in my life. I still have 4 that are active. I've spent over $3 million in coaching. And it's the greatest thing because it allows me to have a shortcut, what to do, what not to do. You don't know it's not what you know that hurts you, it's what you don't know. And what you don't know is the blind spots. And that's where you can get in trouble, either legally, right? Because ignorance of the law, whoops, I didn't know, is definitely not a defense. I'm sure that, but Your Honor, my client didn't know. I don't really think that works. Same thing in business, right? You can't say I don't know. So we're 100% responsible for every choice we make, whether good or bad. It's always our fault.
Hey, JT, what's impressed me about you, and again, we have a relationship as friends and business people, but you are trying to give forward. What I love about not the fact that you have business interests in over 54 countries, probably more than that right now, and you're an uber success. You actually go all the way down to coaching and trying to help people that are on the lower levels who feel like I can never possibly be an entrepreneur like somebody like JF Foxx, including your founders that you started. And we're on that as well. And we watch people that have everything from a couple of dollars to spend to billionaires that you literally have on these founders calls with various deals. Why is it that you got yourself, when you don't have to do it, into the space of trying to help people that don't really have a lot of equity try to improve their financial position?
I can give you the answer. It's all about leaving a legacy, and I just want to make this planet a better place than when I first got here. That would be a very basic. The bottom line is, I believe in investing in people, not in deals, right? Great people will eventually find a great deal or make it work, right? Persevere, like all 3 of us, right? And a bad person to deal with will ruin a good deal. And that's kind of like the theme that was last year. What I experienced is I had 3 great deals. I still made money, but it was the biggest aggravation and probably left tens of millions of dollars on the table because they were just bad people, either uncoachable, know-it-all, ego, pride. And so to me there are two types of people. There are people with money and there are people that are trying to work their way to have money. And you can't just be in a room full of people with a lot of money because people like me with a lot of money be like, okay, well, where's the deals? Well, I don't know. Because we're at a stage now where we look at so many deals and we say yes or no. So you kind of need what the equivalent of a young JT Foxx, of someone who's got that insane work ethic, that attitude, that persistence that's going to find out. And ultimately, I mean, we just take a look at a recent deal we did in Dallas. I mean, 50.3% return. I mean, in 4 months, right? I mean, I didn't find the deal. And to be honest with you, would I have put 5 months, the person who brought us the deal did 5 months of like persistence every week. I don't know if at this stage of my life I would have done that. So I think there's a combination of both. But when we get into the founders in the room or any room, we're all equal. Everybody's got a role to play, right? And we all collaborate with an end goal. Right. And how can we share, add a value to each other's life? And where you learn is ultimately where you earn.
Yeah, great points. Look, we were on the founders call last night, over 350 people. We were down with you in Florida at MegaSuccess. And I'll tell you what, man, you blew us away. You blew us away with the event that you put on, the stage, Jack Nicklaus, the greatest golfer in the history of golf down there talking to us about business. Talk to us about relationships, networking, because you're one of the ones that pound it more than others. And, it's the key to your success, as I see, with all the people that you're connected with.
Well, everyone's worried about financial capital. I'm sort of worried about relational capital. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's who knows you. I get offers all the time to be on shows and podcasts and radio. And I say no, probably most because of time, right? It's just, it takes time. And so in this situation, we've invested in the relationship. And to be honest with you, had you not said, hey, listen, we want to hire you. And if you guys remember the first time you and I talked and then Bob showed up and I was 100% sure that we weren't going to move forward. I don't know why. It's just I'm so used to let me think about it, and think about it 99% of the time is no. And ultimately, because you invested in the relationship, not only did we build a relationship, when I needed you, you were there, which built a very good sort of friendship, because it was based on trust and what you guys did at your law firm. You guys are the best. And, they did something that was unfortunate situation of being a public figure. It's just, everyone tries to extort you left, right, and center for no reason. And you guys came in and I don't know, I mean, it was like Saturday night and Sunday night and going over letters and strategies. I mean, it's what I would do. And you guys did the same thing. You weren't saying, well, we're lawyers and we'll go deal with it on Monday morning. And so I like being around like-minded individuals like that. No matter what their net worth is, it's irrelevant to me. I put on my pants the same way that everybody else does, although I tend to get them on a little bit earlier in the morning. Some people wake up at 7 or 8 and you expect to be successful. That's a different story. And then as a result, I have one of the biggest conferences called MegaSuccess. And I wanted to interview on stage because you guys have done a phenomenal job branding, because you're not attorneys. You're entrepreneurs that are attorney. And just doing the show and how you're promotional and how much, I see you and Bob on TV all the time. I'm not sure why you're not wearing my tie and why Bob is not wearing my tie today. This is an outrage. I mean, this is the breaking news. But usually they wear my ties and today they're not. So I'm very devastating. I thought I'd monetize and share this to the whole world, but now I'm just going to share it to myself. But
yeah. All right, well, wait a second. We got to caveat a couple of things. First of all, Bob doesn't have a tie on because he would not be seen without a JT Foxx tie on. And when I go on the national news media, I actually put a JT.
Yeah, but this is the big show. This is the big show. I don't care about national media. This is your show and the greatest radio show there is. Nothing but the truth. And the truth is you don't have my tie. And for that reason, you're fired, Bob. And then Bruno, that thing is giving me a rash just looking at it. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hurting my eyes.
Not having a tie or having the wrong tie?
Yeah, I'd rather not have a tie. That's a good point. Your Honor, motion to dismiss my complaint against Bob on the premise of we have come to resolution. Bruno, I'm proceeding with my cause of action against that.
Yeah, all right, I got you back on Bruno.
No, by the way, tortious interference of my eyes.
Hey, JT, you mentioned this before, and I think it's really important. And we know your story this way, and I think it's really, really important. I kind of felt your pain when you were going through what you were going through when we were helping you out, because having been nominated by the governor to be the county prosecutor, I had so many false articles, so many false news media, so many people that want to take a shot because you're the top dog. And I felt it was very, very unfair. And at a certain point in time, I actually framed an article because I felt I was being framed and had it in my office so I could look at it every day to realize it's not, I never expected to be attacked for the things, I did expect to be attacked for the things I did do, but not for the things that were just made up that I didn't do. JT, you're the top dog out there with regard to business coaching and your mega success that you have. How do you deal with that when, from an emotional point of view, when you're being accused and attacked at things only because you're so successful?
I mean, listen, I used to be bothered by it a tremendous amount because we're all human. We're all people, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to be loved. And it's one thing if like you disagree with my stance on a particular position or a political situation or something like that, which by the way, I always keep neutral because I realize you're never going to change people's minds, right? Vax, unvax, or Trump or no Trump, like abortion, no abortion, gun control or gun control. Like there's nothing I can say or none of us can say that will ever change people's position until they experience something, right? It's just an example, right? You don't believe in the vaccine, you end up on a ventilator. I've had several people, they spent 2-3 weeks in the hospital. They couldn't listen to anything. It was loud. The whole time they kept thinking, will I die? And what they kept going back, if you ask them, would you take the vaccine? Every single one said yes. And those who, by the way, had it and then nothing happened, be like, it was like, nothing. So they have a different perspective. So I believe we have to live through different perspectives. And once we experience things, then that is when we form an opinion. And I tell people, I mean, I respect whatever position you have, but you're entitled to your own opinions. You're not entitled to make up your own facts. And what people do is they make up their own facts. They'll say like, oh, you're a scam, you're this, you're that, but they don't know. Like it's just hearsay. It's their belief. And I think we've become a society that is more divided, cancel culture, woke culture. And so if you want nothing but the truth, we are more divided as a nation. We cannot say, oh, you like or don't like this person, or you know what? I like, say, Trump, let's say, but I don't like that he did that, right? And so, or I don't like Donald Trump, but this he did well. We live in a situation, everything is bad, everything is good, and there's no respect of people's opinion. If you disagree, you get canceled. People believe in the freedom of speech until you disagree with their position, and it's getting worse. We live in a country, this is about successful people and nothing but the truth. Everyone loves a story on the way up. And the minute you're on top, they want to see you go down, right? Because you're rich, or people like, oh, rich people, you don't pay taxes. Well, how much taxes do you pay? Right? Like, what do you contribute to society? I hire a lot of people. I've invested a lot of business. I put back my money. So the problem, we live in a country where everybody's pointing the finger at somebody else and they have 3 fingers pointing back at them. Or they'll be like, oh, I don't trust the government. Well, when you get the stimulus check, you trusted the government, right? And so I think people, wherever they listen to in the news, right, is people get their views from wherever they get. And that's the problem. So I have become desensitized. And so, even Amazon's got a 70% happiness rate. Like, who doesn't like Amazon? I don't like it. They refund my money. If I want to talk to customer services, like in 3 minutes and 27 seconds, someone's going to call you. It's so, who doesn't like it? Is it someone that's jealous because they got so big? Is it because you don't like big corporations? Is it because someone that they lost their business because of Amazon? I don't know. But there's one thing for sure. 51% of the people like you, you're president. And the majority of people, 25% of people will like you no matter what you say. 25% of the people like you, but they're looking for a way not to like you because maybe they got burnt before. 25% of the people, they don't like you, but they're like, I want to like you. These tend to be very skeptical people. They want to, but it's ingrained in them. And then 25% of the people will never like you no matter what you say. And trying to convince people that are never going to be your clients, never going to be your friends, never going to be your buyers, to try to convince them to like you is a losing proposition.
Wow. That is #truth spoken right there by JT Foxx. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here on WMTR Radio. On Saturday at 10:30, we'll have more with the great wisdom and the skill set of JT Foxx on the other end. Stay with us.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
Welcome back to WMTR's Nothing But the Truth with Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno. We have the world's #1 wealth and business coach with us, and our coach, JT Foxx, throwing out some wisdom, Dave, prior to the break. I know you got a lot of questions.
Yeah, JT, I want to start off with the term relevant rich. And I've heard you tell the story about your boy, partner, and billionaire Tycoon X out of Chicago that taught you this phrase. And speak to our audience about it.
Well, the idea is rich with relevance. I remember this story, and I almost didn't rent an office because I was in my office place in Chicago and everything was just kind of shut down. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, we just need a place to go, right? Like to clear a head or to come up with ideas. And there's always a lot of distractions. So they had these little offices within our buildings. And of course they were cheap. And during the pandemic, they doubled in prices and there was only one left, and I'm debating. So I said, it's fine, I'm going to take it. And then one day this big guy comes in, I'm in the bathroom, he has a loud voice. I'm like, what do you do? And he goes, I own the building. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, I start talking. And then he says to me, you're saying a lot of things, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what are you saying? And horrible first impression. I'm stuttering. And maybe the pandemic, especially the start, you're off your game. And I went to bed at night and I felt like completely kind of like upset with myself that I didn't make a good impression. So next day I came in and I click his office. I'm knocking on the door, and it's closed because of COVID, and he's looking at me, rolls his eyes. You could tell he's like, what now? So I'm like, I just want to say I made a bad impression. I'm sorry. He goes, so what? I'm like, yeah, I just want to tell you. And he goes, when's the last time you gave a sandwich to the homeless? When's the last time you went out there and you gave something without ever getting credit, right? Rich with relevance, right? You're rich when you can give something to someone without ever knowing that it's you. Mm. You're rich when you can have a private plane or all this stuff without bragging about it on social media. And he goes, and then it hit me. And I'm like, I'll do it. And he could roll his eyes. And I went to Whole Foods, which was next door to my building, which is kind of crazy because I was like, do they want organic to homeless? Like I was going because, Whole Foods is whole paycheck, right? You get it's 30% more. And I've really thought about walking 15 minutes away to the other grocery store. And so I buy it. I had made sandwiches in the longest time. So then I go in there and I give sandwiches with an apple and chips to 20 homeless people. And out of the 20, only 3 people said yes. And I was kind of upset. I said, thank you. I was just kind of upset about that at first. So then I see him and say, hey, I did it. Like you said, he goes, what happened being rich with relevance? About doing it without, but I'm like, I'm just telling you what I did. He goes, again, doing something without anybody knowing, including me. Now, what I did not know after the fact is that he actually saw me giving out because he was driving, actually saw me, but he didn't tell me that until months later. And so for the next few months, that's what I did every Friday, and I dropped it off. And I also learned about that. It doesn't matter if they say thank you, they just need it. Just some people don't know, and some people are broken, right? And the system is there, and it doesn't matter whether they say yes or not, because it's not about my feelings, it's about theirs. And one day he walked by my office and he goes, he heard me talk, and he's like, you know what are you doing? And so I'm just helping some people. And then I said, he goes, well, maybe I'd like to talk to them. But he goes, I don't want my name known. I don't it's not what I do. I'm not like you. I have no interest of being on the radar. And then he starts speaking, and no one knows his name. He's a billionaire, but no one knows his name. And it's kind of ironic because we just kind of got used to it. But the way you talk, you could tell it's a whole different level. And then one day he just called me, and we just became business partners. And now we're business partners now. And one, if I had not gotten that office, this wouldn't happen. Number 2, I could have been like, oh, the guy's being an a-hole. He's making me bad. If I had not felt bad about it and trying to make it right a second time, if I had not gone and give the sandwich to the homeless, then I wouldn't be where I am here today. And so I think that's the point with action, right? Action is not something you say, it's something you do. If you don't do X, whatever X is, who could I have met? Maybe people listening to this show right now, who could have inspired? Some of you here are going to come to the founders, JT Foxx 2X, JT Foxx XX founders.com. And we might do business together, or you might be in my network and see all these billionaires and celebrities I'm part of, because whoever I know, you get to know. But this, by listening to the show or by me going there, something happened, and nothing happens if we don't say yes.
Yeah. We live so much by that philosophy that our careers, JT, I emphasized this when I was the prosecutor and throughout my whole career, is all the great things we can do for people that we don't have to tell anybody about, but we're making a huge difference in their lives and the rippling effect going forward. So that definitely resonates with us. And I think this is part of your mega success event. I'd like you to talk to a little bit about that. We were very honored that you would have us on stage. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, JT. We know you and we respect you and the coaching you do, but we had no idea what we were walking into when we went to Mega Success. And like Dave said, we were just blown away. And then after seeing everyone you had on the stage, that you would include us was a great honor. And I think we did okay, but it was a little bit probably outside the queue of what you normally have up there, because you had billionaires, entertainers, you had a lot of really high power people. Talk to us about that.
Well, the idea is this. we had people from 60 plus countries. Because of the pandemic, we probably would have had over 72. Couldn't have a New Zealand and a lot of Asian countries, right? So normally we'd do 72 to 80 countries from all over the world. And the idea is if you put like-minded individuals in a room together, we can all learn from each other. We can all work together. We can all benefit together. And that's the concept of relational capital. But sometimes people can't relate to the billionaire, right? And by listening to you guys, two attorneys who, by the way, most attorneys work in their business rather than on their business. And most attorneys are not on TV as much as you are. Most attorneys don't even spend money on advertising because their business is based on referrals. Although you guys do get a lot of referrals, you generate because you go where the client doesn't even know who you are, which, by the way, takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and it requires a new skill, right? It takes a skill to practice law. Not all of a sudden now you got to have a skill about, hey, now I got to create marketing, and marketing is not easy. Right, you can throw money into, and it goes into a black hole. 5,000 go in the social media there. And I remember there was a time where marketing wasn't working for you. All of a sudden, in the middle of the pandemic in the summer, just because Google changed the algorithm, just like that, boom, right? You build this whole system, and just like the law, sometimes you have the cases, and you are 100% right on the law. You're 100% right on the argument, but for some reason, a judge sees it differently. Which you're like, huh? Because the problem with common sense, it's not as common as you and I think. And so you have to learn to adapt and pivot. And you have to realize the fundamental premise is that life is not fair. Like this, just like something happened to me on a social media platform, which, they shadow banned me and then they just banned me for no reason. I mean, I did nothing wrong. Did not violate the terms of service. And now obviously we're in litigation. But the whole thing is we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want, with no consequences. It's just the world. And people are like, are you upset? Of course I'm upset. But I realize that that's just life, right? Every time you're successful and you're trying to do something great, right? There's someone who wants to take it away, or you have a roadblock. So you can't cry about it. You got to go next deal, next client, next opportunity. Because if you just dwell in your own sorrow, you're never going to grow as a human being. And I think that's growth that I probably wouldn't kind of had earlier on in my ages. But that's what happens when I get coaching. There's just say, let it go, on to the next one. Because that rage fuels me to do better. But the rage used to like paralyze me, where I obsess over it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's we always talk about the difference between being a victim and a victor in the face of being an.
I can't stand the victim. I mean, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And by the way, we complain about what we have, but imagine you live in Africa, which I've been many times and have done a lot of business there, and you live in the middle of Africa. And you have to walk 2 hours to get water. You're born with no air conditioning, no heating, in a house with 12 people. And, you don't always have food, and and they're happy, or they just want an opportunity. We were born in the United States of America. We're lucky. There's a lot of people who don't have the very freedoms that we have, or the American dream, or even the ability to listen to this, right? Whether they're driving a car, a lot of people can't afford a car. So, or wherever they're listening to this as well. So I think sometimes the problem with society now is that we take things for granted. And I do like this JFK quote: ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And it just seems that everybody has their hand out, everybody's pointing fingers, and everybody wants everything done the way they want it done without contributing back. And I think that's what makes it divisive. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So that's just the world that we live in here today, and we got to have to keep changing.
Yeah, well said. Another takeaway from MegaSuccess is value. I mean, that's one thing about JT Foxx, delivering value and not showing off the money that you have. I mean, we talk about this no fluff, JT Foxx, let's go, right? Talk to us a little bit about that. We, as a coach and people out there trying to be influencers, we don't need the planes and the yachts and all the stuff that they have.
Even if we do, you have to take a look at it. When I started businesses, the model was, in effect, Warren Buffett. Right, the dude was worth like 60 billion. He's worth 100 billion now. But show how much wealth has increased in the last 10 years. And he drives a Cadillac, which he had for a long time. He lives in the same house. He's a no frills type guy, right? And now we live in a society, which is what's called a social media society, where everyone's showing their planes, their helicopters, they're loud, they're obnoxious. But what happens is they're getting attention that way, but they may not be attracting quality. And the way I take a look at it, if Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos don't post about their stuff, why would I post? And the only reason people are posting stuff like that is, number one, to either fake it till they make it, to impress people that, oh, wow, look, I'm successful because of that. But then when you peel the onion, you realize it's a bunch of fugazis, fakes, or they're trying to sell their product, which ironically, that's how they got all that stuff, because people bought them a product to try to say, look, I'm successful, I have that. And that's a very dangerous. I think young people are impressionable. They have this whole idea on YouTube's like, what's that? I got a stack of money, and then, you know what I mean? Like that. And that's not what wealth is about. And I partner with many billionaires, and I do business for some of the world's most successful people. They're not like that. They don't talk like that. They don't act like that. So it's become sort of a YouTube nation of, or social media, get rich quick. And, you know, I have social media as part of branding and positioning, but, you know, it's just quality wise, it's just not where it should be. So I'd rather have less clients. As you see, you know, we could have 10,000 people if I had a different message at the conference, but we had less people, but all my people are qualified. So quality over quantity of people, but it's about the right messaging, because eventually all that fakery is like hot air. It's like helium. It eventually goes away.
Yeah. Well said, JT. Wow.
Yeah, JT, just one or two more questions before we conclude this, but talk to us a little bit about, if you can give a couple of pointers to those folks that are out there listening to this who want to get in the game, but they're afraid. Like, what is the mindset that they need? And what would you provide to them? What advice and what could you do for them to be able to get them in that game so that they can start having some financial freedom?
Well, if the people want some free coaching, they can go to my Instagram official at JT Foxx, JT Foxx XX. You know, the point is there's always going to be fear. But if you fear nothing, they fear you. Anything you do for the first time, first date, first business, first trial, you know, first time you put money for marketing, you're always going to be afraid of. You're afraid of the unknown. You do anything 5 times, the fear goes away. First day at school, 5 days later, you're not nervous. You know, 5th trial, you're not that nervous. You know, 5th marriage, you're not that nervous because you know what's going to happen. So the point is, it's only a fear at the first, but most people have a fear trying. And there's 3 types of things inside us. You have fear, fire, and permafrost. Fear is the thing that stops dreams, makes people overthink, procrastinate, come up with excuses. Fire is that passion, that enthusiasm that I have, that both of you have, that many people that are watching this still have. And then the permafrost is there's something frozen inside us. It could be a past relationship, past failure, our parents. And if we try to put good soil on top of the permafrost, it's still frozen. And so we have to de-thaw the permafrost. Whatever you're weak at, that's why you're not earning your worth. Whatever's frozen inside, eventually it de-thaws and it consumes you. Now, the fire will often burn the fear off, but it will never replace the permafrost. And so we are our own best asset, but also our own worst enemy.
Wow. You know, we had Bruce Buffer on the show as well, a friend of yours, and he talked about mistakes and learning from mistakes. And I think that's the theme here is, you know, we're going to make mistakes and hopefully they're not too critical, but learning from those mistakes, getting past them and being resilient.
Well, Dave,
a wise man learns from his mistakes while a genius learns from other people's mistakes, right? It's okay to make one mistake as long as you don't repeat it. So I think mistakes and failure is what moves us forward. But having a coach says, do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't put this on the ad, or just say this, that's how you progress forward. But most people look at how much things cost rather than how much things are going to make them or save them in the long run. And it's a different mentality. And a lot of it has been instilled by schools and our parents and society, because there's this fear of success or fear of failure. So.
Well, JT, but I'm seeing a million, since our relationship with you, and since we've really been getting into, by the way, you mentioned, the marketing and the business stuff for the Bianchi Law Group. But what caught my attention was one of our first coaches prior to you, but now you're our coach, was that there's no honor in not having eyeballs on your law firm. And that really resonated with me, that the great work we do is limited in scope because lots of people don't get to see the great services. So we've really changed that way. But JT, there are a million coaches out there. It seems like it's a cottage industry now. And you're like the #1 wealth coach in America. What is the qualitative distinction between, how do people find the real deal like you versus what else is out there?
I mean, it's the same thing. There's a million lawyers. So there's a million of everything. There's a million of everything. It doesn't matter what industry you are. #1, results. Results don't lie, but people who don't have any do. You guys are the best. You have also credibility of being a former prosecutor, which to me, that says to me, this is a guy who knows both sides. You're on TV a lot. And obviously you have the cases that you won that gives us. Same thing with me. I have results. I have 26,000 clients in 104 countries. I've personally been in and do business in 54. I have tons of other businesses. I've made millions in business, internet marketing, crypto, coaching, speaking. online. I mean, I've done it all. So in the end, it just all comes to the part is that there's everyone here who's listening to this show. There is competition. If there's no competition, unfortunately, you're probably not a good business. But I say there's nothing, you're just doing it. Coaching is done in a continuum, just like, everyone hates lawyers until they need them. And you're only as good as your lawyer. You're only as good as your coach. You're only as good as your doctor. So I think that's kind of like the point. And you never stop, and you never stop building the relationship. And you're always thankful for the people that get you in the life, and you never forget where you come from. Because if you forget the people that help you get to where you are, then when you go on the way down, eventually there is always a curve. They won't be there for you. And so a lot of people don't show respect and loyalty and gratitude, and they just think it's expected. So I appreciate what you guys did for me. In fact, I will never forget for the rest of my life what you did for me. And I will always be there for you like you were there for me. Because to me, loyalty 24/7, 365.
Yeah, amazing. All right, JT Foxx, we really appreciate JT. I know that your schedule is uber.
Yeah, I got to go. I'm 5 minutes late for my meeting. You guys are killing me.
Yeah,
but I love you guys.
JT. All right, so that's WMTR's Nothing But the Truth, Saturdays at 10:30. And we really appreciate JT. Look, so quickie, Dave, he had to go. I want to bounce off a couple of ideas, though. Look, I've said this before. When we wanted getting into the business coaching thing, I wasn't really sure about it. And there's a lot of people out there. But JT makes a good point, and it's analogous to lawyers too. I mean, you got to do your due diligence and find the people who have been successful, the people that billionaires consult with him, millionaires consult with him at the MegaSuccess, the people he had. That's why I was shocked, like on the stage. He's like, what are you talking about? You guys deserve to be up here just as much as anybody else. And I don't disagree with that, right? But we're not like well-known celebrities like they have in these things like Sylvester Stallone and who was some of the Al Pacino and Jewel and the various people that he's had up there, including the billionaires that he's had up there. But he's really, in essence, the same thing, Dave, that we hear with all these guests. It's about mindset.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, we came out of the prosecutor's office in 2013 and we opened up the Bianchi Law Group. And we are kick-ass trial attorneys that do good work in the courtroom. And we weren't really looking at it as the business that we are today. And it was you and I with some help, but the expansion allows us to touch and help so many more people. So it opened our eyes. And unfortunately, it was COVID. Really, it was the big aha moment for us. And we've talked about this before on the show. It was COVID. It was the phone stopped ringing. People were quarantined. And we had to pivot ourselves. And we did it with thinking about business differently. We went out and got coaches like JF Foxx to help us through, right? Because there are mistakes that could be made in business, but it's very helpful to have people that can help you through the path, help you make decisions, and hopefully not make the mistakes that really affect your business negatively.
Yeah, I mean, there were things that were being told to us that seemed so counterintuitive to how we thought about business. And let's face it, every law firm's a business. I mean, money comes in, money goes out, salaries get taken, you have to pay people, staff. But they really opened our eyes, and especially during COVID, of all times, to invest in your law firm seemed so counterintuitive. We were just trying to, is the PPP money going to come in? Are we going to be able to survive? We're going to be able to keep the staff we have. So to actually try to increase and to do the things to do it smartly, those business coaches told us things that sounded really crazy at first, but as we look back on it, like, wow, how great it was. So the bottom line here is that with anything, whether it's the law or business coach, you need to go to people that have an objective outside view that you can trust and respect, and kind of follow their guidance. Something that I thought, Dave, I love this line. He uses it. We've said it in different ways. A person's either I'm going to get it down here, Mike. Fear, fire, or permafrost.
Yeah.
Right?
First time I've heard that. And I wrote the same thing down. This permafrost, right? And we've talked about this too. Resilience is being resilient through tough times. And sometimes if you can't be resilient or address the underlying issues, it may end up being permafrost.
Yeah.
Right? Something that's underlying that really is a deep down an issue. But I love that point. You and I both wrote down the same exact thing. Thank you, JT.
Yeah, but there's one other thing, Dave. How does that segue into the great model that got us involved with Brene Brown, right? Sure. So The Man in the Arena, the poem written by Teddy Roosevelt, unfortunately is gender specific, but let's go beyond that. Mm-hmm. The point Brene Brown used that talking about the people that are in the theater watching it, that are in the arena, the cheap seats, and the gladiators or the fighters that are really fighting the fight with the dirt, to use Roosevelt's analogy here. And we talked about that in the prosecutor's office. We had that hung up there. And that was my way of trying to say to people, this was, if I don't mind fear. You remember, you are going to have fear when you're in that battle. If you don't have fear, then you are either a liar or you're a maniac, okay? It is not a comfortable place to be. But what I wanted was fire, because I'm kind of using his analogy here. I want you to go in and fight the fight. I don't care if you lose, so long as you were prepared and you did your best. But don't be the people, I look at the people in the seats, the permafrost, who they're neither hot nor cold, or in this particular situation, they're stuck in a place. And to use JT's, which I thought was amazing, other analogies about life, all they want to do is sit there and watch people get defeated.
Yeah, man in the arena, it's applicable to trial lawyers. It really can convert into most industries and businesses. And it's also about pressure. Pressure is privilege. Another thing that we talk about, because look, if you're in the arena, there's going to be pressure. There's going to be the fear of losing in whatever you do. But guess what? If your fear of losing takes you away from an opportunity, you're going to miss it. There's going to be so many opportunities that you miss because of fear of losing. So if you get into this mindset, and it's a pivot, it's pressure is privilege. Understanding that the situation you're in may have pressure, but if you're not in it, you may lose opportunity and goodness on the other side. And that's something from Brené Brown as well.
Yeah, but you know what that equates when you don't have the fire. And look, I get it. I understand fear. We've all been there where we've been fearful. Like when I tried the case as the prosecutor, which everybody told me not to do. There was a fear factor involved in that because first you have everybody telling you, you shouldn't do it. It's political suicide. What if you lose? You're the head guy. And everybody was chirping in my ear about why not? Why no other head county prosecutor's done it. It hasn't been done in 40 or 50 years. And the more they were saying that, to be honest with you, was the more it was pushing me towards doing it. And here's the thing about what happens, to your point, when you don't do something out of fear. And in my lexicon, in my wordology, in my life, the way I look back is you look back on your life and you have one word that I never want to live to the best extent I can. And that word is regret.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit there and say, I wish, I wonder if I could have. So it gets to the other point that JT brings up that I think is really important that we try to emphasize. And so far, every guest has talked about it. It's the victim mentality.
Yeah.
And it is so easy to fall into. I mean, I've had unfair things happen to me. It is you are going to have unfair things happen. Your positions, the higher you go or the more successful you are, like JT said, you got the 25%, the 25%, the 25%, 25%. There's going to be people rooting for you to lose, and it can be very unnerving. And when you do lose, they love it and they relish in it, but you got to step aside from that mentality. And here's what always bothered me when I was I've been a boss of many things in my life. I don't care about your loss. I don't care about your failure. I don't care if you didn't win. What I don't want to hear is the excuses. It's not fair. Why me? How come I'm being treated, wrongly? And I used to watch so many skilled people that had such growth potential go down that rabbit hole and just implode because they just couldn't accept it. Even if it is unfair, it very well may have been. Accept it and move on, Dave.
Yeah, sure. Important to be resilient and get past that because it's very easy to dwell on those things and ruminate. And then it starts to spiral and then it's in your mind. And then you just need to get past, learn. You got to learn from things. Right. And that's another theme that has come through from a lot of different guests is, we're going to make mistakes. Ultimately, hopefully it's not going to be critical, but we got to learn from them and don't make the same mistakes twice. Learn and get past them.
Well, I think there's one crucial thing that, and I'm seeing it society. I feel like my father now, and I guess he felt like his father before him. We're looking at it in the eyes of some wisdom and maturity, but I think we're moving into a culture where it has become completely acceptable to blame everyone but yourself for the failure. And look, people have had heartbreaks. I get it. And there are people who have had heartbreaks that have been successful. We've had them on this show. And there are people that have been given a silver spoon and should have every reason for success who've gone down the rabbit hole. It's all about mindset. Dave, remember when I was prosecutor, I had a little mirror, decorative mirror behind my desk that my wife put up there. And I think you probably were in the room once or twice because I used to do it a lot. When everybody would do the deflection and they weren't willing to do the self-analysis, or they didn't want to blame themselves, and it was this one's problem, that one's problem, the other problem, dog ate my police report, or or the doctor gave me bad medication, or whatever it could be. I used to stand up and say, hold on a second. I would look in the mirror and I'd say, in a quizzical way, when I look in this mirror, I see a fat, paunchy, middle-aged, balding male. Why is it that other people look in this mirror and see Brad Pitt? In other words, I accept who I am with the flaws and whatever, because without self-critical analysis, you cannot progress. But not over self-critical analysis, not blaming yourself because you have that other side for things that are not your responsibility or fault.
Yeah, sure. I don't think blame is getting into the culture now. I think blame has always been in the past and historic. I mean, look, it's about owning things. And as individuals, we have to own our situations. It may be someone else that made a mistake, but did you delegate it properly? Did you make the delegation clear so that there were clear instructions? And oftentimes, I mean, and I do this myself, it's not about blame. It's about owning it, owning the mistake, learning from the mistake, getting past it, and then moving on in a positive way. And that's mindset.
Yeah. And I, as a leader of an organization, which is something I think, again, is of recent, I mean, it's always been around. I get it, but it's been so amplified today, is I own it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were many things when I was the county prosecutor that we had procedures and policies and standards, and sometimes people made mistakes. But when somebody would come in to complain about a mistake that was made, I didn't sit there and say, well, that was my assistant prosecutor's fault or whatever. I apologize for it to me. That's why we never had any lawsuits. We didn't have grievances. We didn't have a problem. There were times I bring the person in and say, look, we made a mistake. Here's where we made the mistake. I own it, and I'm going to do what I can to rectify it. And you'd be shocked at how the anger melts away from people, because you're only just being honest with them and honest with yourself.
Yeah, sure. Look, we went long today, no doubt. Oh, this is going to be some bonus material. This is going to be bonus material. We got the video running. It's not just about a radio show anymore. We got the radio show, the podcast. We got the web series, right? And the website is nothingbuttethetruthpodcast.com. That's where you could subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and in Spotify. And then also the videos there for all of our guests, including JT Foxx, KDK, Bruce Buffer, and it goes on because we have a lot of good guests coming. And I'm very, very excited to be here with you, Bob. Great job today. And I hope everyone took away some great things from JT Foxx.
Okay, so that's WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth every Saturday at 10:30. Wow, awesome guest 2022. We are really looking forward. Many safe and happy New Year and blessings to you all. We'll be back next Saturday at 10:30.
The Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
In a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.